Your assignment is to write a rhetorical analysis. You may choose one of the summary response reading assignments that we have already read as the topic. You can choose Clark's Nervous Nellies, Kate Daly's Friends with Benefits, or Caitlin Turbo's Life's Not Worth the Money. Additionally, you may choose to analyze Barack Obama's A More Perfect Union speech, or you may analyze Brian Stevenson's We Need to Talk About Injustice speech. The other option is that you have is to analyze an advertisement. One of the things you can do is search for images simply on the web. Some suggestions would be public service announcements or advertisements. You remember that in your text, the Iron Eyes Cody campaign that was analyzed was a public service announcement. You can also consider a company's ad or ad campaign, how it's effective. You could take a particular brand or a particular product. You can choose a product that you use and analyze an ad, an automobile. These are just suggestions, but they're ideas that you might want to consider. Remember that if you are using an advertisement, that you do need to include a copy of it, and there is information about how to do that, and the particular location is indicated in the topic submission assignment. So let's look at some ads and see what you think you might be interested in. The first advertisement is an advertisement for Lego, and you could consider, how does this appeal to logic? How does it appeal to credibility? How does it appeal to emotion? Remember, the purpose of an ad is to sell you a product. How effective are they in communicating what their product can do and why you would want to purchase it? This advertisement is an advertisement for baby wipes. Notice how the child is dressed. Think in terms of, how does this appeal to ethos, pathos, and logos? What other devices are used here in order to communicate the idea? This is a billboard. It's entitled Weapons of Mass Destruction. Think in terms of the context. Could this advertisement, or would this advertisement have been created in 1995? In what context is this advertisement created, and how does it use that to communicate its idea? How does it appeal to ethos, logos, and pathos? This advertisement has more text than the others, so you would want to look at the text as well as the visuals. But think in terms of what is being communicated. Again, it is an advertisement for Lego. Think about what they're selling. Think about what the image communicates. How does it appeal to ethos, logos, and pathos? Notice again the fact that there is text. Think in terms, notice the setting. Think in terms of the idea being communicated and the effectiveness of the image in communicating that. One option are public service ads. This is not a public service announcement or ad. This was actually an advertisement that was published, and there was critical response to it. Look at what it says, look at what it communicates, and look at what it presents to the reader. What does it sell, and what does it not sell? Remember, it is both omission and commission. Again, this is not a public service ad. This is an advertisement for a product. Those were examples of advertisements. They are certainly not exhaustive. I suggest you choose one that you think is particularly striking and think in terms of how it communicates the message. Think of its purpose. Again, if you want to choose a text, you may choose one of the texts you've already read and summarized, one of the requirements of the rhetorical analysis. If you do, your next step would be to go through the text that you have chosen and identify examples of the appeals. Pick particular text that you would use to illustrate the points that you were making. How are you going to support the idea that Clark uses ethos or pathos or logos, that Daly uses those appeals, or that Turnbow uses those appeals? Again, your thesis states the main idea of the text being analyzed, the concepts or devices that are going to be used to analyze it, and finally, the position. Is it effective or ineffective? These are the potential topics for your analysis. Let's look at what the requirements are for your topic submission. The topic submission is due on February the 17th. Notice that you are to identify the topic that you are going to choose, and it refers you to the topic options, which is 5.8. You are choosing your position, whether you think that the text is effective or ineffective in communicating its message. You are going to define the rhetorical concepts that you use. You can see 5.2 for definitions of appeals. Those are the ones that are the sort of default. If you want to use others, you certainly may, but you can use the appeals as your starting point. If you're using an image, then you want to include it. Those pages in Writing Today and 5.4 refer to those, explain how to do that. You need to include a bibliographical citation for the text and other resources you plan to use. You may certainly add to those, but if you have identified sources of information for your definitions, then you can go ahead and write your bibliographical citations. It tells you to go to 5.6 for the bibliographical citation and the writer's reference. On March the 3rd, the rhetorical analysis is due. It is submitted as an attached document, as is the topic submission. You will include key elements, that is, those things covered in 5.3. You define your concepts, you summarize the text, you provide the context in which the text appeared, and you provide an analysis, which can be point by point through the text or may be organized by appeals. The thesis states the main idea of the original text, identifies the concepts that will be used for analysis, and states the position of the rhetorical analysis. Is the text being analyzed effective or ineffective? You use signal phrases to introduce text and in-text citations, parenthetical page numbers to show where that information comes from. And finally, you have bibliographical citations in a works cited.